Good morning everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now once again, we're going to be back with another collecting video. Item collecting is something I find truly fascinating, and once again I am going to be working directly with most of the major collecting communities in old school RuneScape. Now in OSRS, a item collection could be anything you want. Some people will try to collect millions of cabbages, other people will try to go for rare items, some people will collect burnt food, some people will be collecting snail shells, and some people just go for the largest total collections, largest quantities in the entire game. Regardless though, every collection has a story to it. Some of them are years in the making, and thousands of players could have knowingly or unknowingly contributed to the final collection. So thank you for all your submissions. I got some really insane ones, and I'm really excited to show them to you. As always guys, if you do enjoy the video, always appreciate it if you leave the video a like. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, so the first collection I want to have a look at today was submitted by the Devil. That's right guys, even Satan himself is into item collecting in old school RuneScape. Kind of weird, didn't really expect that, but he just got even cooler. Now we're starting with the Devil's collection because it is simple to look at, but that doesn't mean that it is not impressive. It's actually kind of insane. Now they have a collection of 4,045,000 crushed gems. Now this collection is actually insanely rare for one reason, and that is that crushed gems cannot be sold on the Grand Exchange. Now there's actually quite a few items in RuneScape that are tradable, but you can't actually sell them on the Grand Exchange, crushed gems being one of them. Other items like this include stuff like burnt food, newcomer maps, fire arrows. These are very popular within the collecting community because they can be traded, shown off, and sold, but they're very prestigious and hard to obtain because you can't just buy them from a centralized market. Now so far the Devil mentioned that they've spent nearly $500 million on all of these crushed gems so far, definitely making it one of the largest collections of crushed gems. Now obviously crushed gems don't really have any inherent value, but they are pretty rare in the sense because you only get them from failing to cut an opal, a jade, or a red topaz, and even if you start cutting them at the lowest level available, you still roughly only have around a 50% chance to fail at the first levels, and once you get closer to 99, you have pretty well close to a 100% chance of success. So they become rarer and rarer as you get up to higher crafting levels, which is what makes this collection so valuable, rare, and really one of a kind. So yeah, good job. Alright, so next up here we have a collector by the name of Joao Kim, who has a couple of pretty crazy collections to show us. Now to start with here, we have an image of his conventional collection. I'm going to put in air quotes there. It's completely bonkers. It has some of the more common tradable items that normally people collect, but also some really rare items as well. Just to put in perspective here, how much money this collection must have cost, just to look in the bottom right corner, 323 million pure essence. Let's not even take into account how long that would take to buy on the Grand Exchange. The pure essence alone has got to cost at least 500 mil, if not more, which is a lot of money to invest into pure essence. But beyond that, there are just some insane item stacks here. I mean, 206 million mind runes, 156 plant pots, 142 million baskets. I mean, who is actually using baskets that much? And just many green stacks. At the top we have some of the rarer items like party hats, for example. These are extremely slow to obtain because on the Grand Exchange you can only buy them 5 every 4 hours, which means that the absolute best you're only going to be buying around 30 of those per day. Imagine if one day they discontinue those. So just an all-around extremely impressive collection. Now on top of that, they submitted another image of their burnt food collection. Joao Kim actually has probably one of the largest collections of rare burnt food. Now, I didn't even know what half of these items were until I did a little research for this video. For example, in the bottom row, we have burnt spiders, spiders on the shaft, burnt jubbly, ruined chompy. I don't think I've ever seen one of these items before, but they're actually quite valuable within the collecting community. Now, one big disclaimer here, whenever I'm putting a value on something, it's incredibly subjective. Burnt food is not a regulated market by any means. These are just rough prices, and the amount that someone is willing to pay for a collection can vary on quite a few different factors, including how big the collection is, how rare in general the item is, and just whatever they're feeling on that day. It's a small community overall, so the amount of money you'd get for something could vary wildly. But of course the answer is boring and no fun. But just to put things kind of into perspective here, Joao Kim has about 11,700 burnt spiders, and these are actually worth within the collecting community somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 GP each, which means just that stack there could be worth 50 to 100 mil. What's even crazier than that is the bottom left stack, which is burnt jubbly, is worth even more than that per item. Within the collecting community, a burnt jubbly could be worth anywhere from 10,000 GP to 20,000 GP each, which is crazy. I mean, it's hard to imagine paying that much, but this item is extremely annoying to obtain. It's quest locked, it requires cooking levels, and you don't burn it for that long, which means they're really rare. The base ingredient is expensive to begin with, which means even though Joao Kim only has around 3,400 of them, that stack alone could be worth almost 50 mil. It's all just insane, and by far one of the most impressive collections for both burnt food and regular items in the entire game. Okay, so the next image here definitely is going to take a bit of context to explain, but what you're looking at now is actually possibly one of the rarest items in the entire game. It's rarer than a twisted bow, rarer than even party hats in RS3, and definitely rarer than Third Age. What we're looking at is a burnt Umly wrap. Now to begin with here, why is this item so rare? Well, for a long time, me and most players in the community thought this was actually an unobtainable item. Now the reason that this item was effectively unobtainable was kind of just an oversight when Jagex was coding the Umly wrap. You actually will stop burning Umly wraps at level 40 if you're using a ranged, and 44 if you're using a fire. However, what makes it weird is the Umly wrap has a cooking level requirement of 50 to even try to cook it, which means by the time you're actually allowed to cook an Umly wrap, you can no longer burn it. Or so we thought. Now Joao Kim is the one who forwarded me this image, but the player is anonymous and they are not revealing how they did it. However, one thing I find extremely interesting is the OSRS wiki used to have burnt Umly wrap sorted as an unobtainable item. However, now it has the following description. However, since wrapped Umlys cannot be cooked until level 50, burnt wraps cannot be obtained via normal means, but it is possible under very specific circumstances. So what do you guys think? How do you think they obtained a burnt Umly wrap? Let me know your guesses down below. Personally, I have no clue how this was done, but it is definitely the holy grail of the burnt food collecting community and actually one of the rarest items in the entire game. So I thought it was cool. Okay, so next up here we're going to go over a couple single item collections, and I know I didn't really get you guys prepared for this, but well, here it is. 557 mil worth of tinderboxes. 7.6 million tinderboxes. That is what? A player by the name of a Third Age has managed to collect half a bill worth of tinderboxes. Tinderboxes are sure a very common item, but they only have a buying limit of 40 on the Grand Exchange, which means on one account you can only get around 240 per day if you were buying them from the GE. Obviously at this point this player had help from hundreds of other players, but just for example, say an aspiring collector wanted to buy 7.6 million tinderboxes on their main account, how long would it take? Well, if you were lucky, around 87 years. So you wouldn't be alive probably to finish this collection, so very impressive. Alright, next up here we have another single item collection that I just can't wrap my head around. This one is just crazy, just based on the actual value of the collection. Now this anonymous player has 38 million lobsters. That is actually a fucking insane amount of lobsters. That's way too many lobsters for one person. At the current value of lobsters, that is worth 7.6 bill just in lobsters. I don't even know what to say about that. Yeah, see why this guy wanted to remain anonymous. That's actually so much money just in lobsters. So next up here we have another submission by an anonymous player. This player has 4 items in their main collection here, and again, just extremely valuable. These items are common, of course, but they are in such big quantities. I don't think I've ever seen a collection of dragon arrows that big, or for that matter, Zulrah scales on one account. I mean, Zulrah scales are going down in value right now, but 12 million Zulrah scales is worth probably somewhere around 2 bill, less now unfortunately. But yeah, that's a lot of Zulrah scales, 2 T-bows worth of Zulrah scales probably. Now on top of that, they also have 2.6 mil dragon arrows, which is like, I don't know, 1.3 bill just in dragon arrows. And of course the Numalite and Pure Essence, very impressive as well. Just a very impressive and valuable collection. It's probably about time to average down on those Zulrah scales though, so I hope you buy some more. Now next up here we have an absolutely ridiculous collection by somebody by the name of Stocks. There is just so much here that is impressive. Now Stocks has one of the most impressive collections I've ever seen, and they have a ton of green stacks of a bunch of different items. This is just by far one of the most impressive all-round collections. I mean, just everything would be impressive on its own, but they have so much together. I mean, they have 13 million leather chaps, that's crazy, 12 million leather gloves, nearly 1 bill in Pure Essence. I mean, just think of how much money all of this would cost, how much time it would take to acquire. Just everything here is incredibly impressive. I mean, they have 12 million potatoes for God's sake. This person has clearly lost their mind. Okay, so next up here we have a very aesthetically pleasing collection by somebody by the name of Furious Power. This collection has a lot to it, not to mention they have over 20 pets just at the top, including the Bloodhound pet. They have really time-consuming pieces of Castle Wars equipment to acquire. There is just really a lot going on here. Now, one of the most impressive stacks here that you might not really think of if you didn't really know what you were looking for is the 1 million snowballs. Now, these things are not tradable on the Grand Exchange. You pretty much need to collect them by hand, and you can only collect around 3,600 snowballs per hour. So pretty much what that means, just for that one stack here, this person put in 270 hours just into picking up snowballs. That's pretty rough. I mean, you could get pretty well on your way to maxing runecraft in that amount of time, but instead they have 1 million snowballs, which is also very cool. I mean, there's just really a lot going on here, not to mention they just have a 3rd age pickaxe in here as kind of a flex. Completely crazy stuff. Okay, and the final image I want to have a look at is from none other than Burnt Tame. Now, we did feature them in the last video, but they've been hard at work and their collection is much bigger than the last time I had a look at it. Now, I touched on this a lot last time, but a green stack of burnt food is incredibly rare. There are only a handful of players who have managed to acquire a green stack of burnt food, which means 10 million or more. Now, Burnt Tame has 3 green stacks of burnt items, which is incredibly rare. And looking at the top left corner here, look how many burnt lobsters they have. 21 million burnt lobsters. I don't even want to know how long that would have taken to acquire. That is by far the most amount of burnt lobsters I've ever seen. And not to mention they also have 11 million burnt shark and 10 million burnt tuna. Again, another collector that just has so much of everything, just the most impressive all-round burnt food collection in the game that, well, at least I've seen at least. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I got a lot of submissions. Apologies if I didn't get to yours. It is definitely not because the collection was not impressive, I just ran out of time, or there were some images that were very similar, so I just kind of had to pick one. But if you do want to submit another image for possibly a future video, the link to my Discord will be in the description, and feel free to leave anything in the video submissions channel. I always look through there when I'm looking for video ideas, so definitely hit me up. Thanks for watching guys, and I will see you next time. Now before I go here, I'm going to give a massive thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. A massive thank you to Cappy, Sage's Reign, Colin Corley, Timothy Chen, Guy Fox 1227, Valhalla Lad, Brad Sings, Ocelot, and Kush Patel for all subscribing at the Dragon tier of YouTube membership. The list is very long and I appreciate all of you guys so much. Also a big thank you to Bratton Griffin, Base Titch, All Things Gaming, and Birdbot for subscribing at the Rune Knight tier. Thanks again guys. As always, if any of you guys are looking for another way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is an awesome way to do so. You can become immortalized in all of my future videos, get access to my video release schedule, and of course get a custom role in my Discord server. Thanks a lot guys, and I'll see you next time.